Hello, I am Yotam Ottolenghi and I am, for the very first time, in this beautiful New York Times kitchen, and I'm going to bake a lemon, almond and blueberry cake, which I love. This is an everyday snacking cake. Things that are round are special, things that are loaf are day to day. I don't know why. Weird. For me, it's like a very English recipe. When I moved to the UK, I felt like I'm a kid in a toy shop because everywhere you go, there's like blueberries and raspberries and you can go and pick them up from hedges, all these desserts, trifles and messes, etc. They celebrate berries. This cake is part of my excitement about having blueberries. So I'm going to start by lining the tin, which is my least favorite part of baking a cake. There, I've said it. All the rest is fun. This is just a little bit of a pain, but you have to do it. If you don't line your tin properly, all the effort can go to waste. So you just take a little bit of softened butter and just rub it everywhere so the paper just sticks to it. Put the main sheet here in the center. You want to get to the corners. The side pieces are just to make sure that the sides are also covered. And I'm also adding a little bit of butter onto the paper because it's just going to make the cake cook a little bit more evenly and taste more delicious where it touches the butter. So butter, it has to be softened. The butter has to be at room temperature. It has to have been in room temperature for at least half an hour because this is the only way we're going to get nice aeration into the butter. If it's hard, if it sticks together, then you won't have air going on. So I've got butter, I've got some super fine sugar, which helps with aeration. I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, and I'm going to grate some of this lemon. I'm kind of weird. I always grate like this. Some people grate the other way, but I love this system because it stays up, and then you can see how much you've got. Do you find that weird? To do it like this? You do it too? So that's just like a half or 3/4 of a lemon. That's done, and I'm just going to start aerating it or creaming it. I'm just going to give it about 3 to 4 minutes just to start the aeration. It's not a super light sponge, it's a kind of a medium light sponge. Once in a while, not once in a blue moon, you want to scrape the sides of the bowl because those bits don't get air into them. So you just want to, a couple of times, just scrape the sides of the bowl and get it all in the middle so you can get the aeration equally everywhere. As it becomes lighter in texture, it also becomes lighter in color. So that's what you're looking for. And while this is happening, I'm going to break my eggs because I want to add the eggs next. In a minute, I'll start adding them slowly to the batter. Let's give it one more scrape. So you see the color is getting a little bit paler and it's much easier to deal with. It's lighter, so this is what we're after. But there is bits on the bottom that haven't lightened up yet, so this is just something we need to do quickly. I said quickly, but you shouldn't be rushing it. These things just take time. You just can't rush cakes, really, when I think about it. Cakes are not something that you rush. You give it all the time in the world. This is what I tell my kids, and they make fun of me because they want to have it like yesterday. But you have to wait for your cake. When I say my kids make it, it's a little bit of an exaggeration. They start it, and I have to finish it. So now I'm going to start adding the eggs slowly, about 1/3 or 1/4 every time. If you add all the egg at one go, it will just split completely. You want to allow the egg to get incorporated into the butter and sugar to create this aeration. So we have to do it in stages. Now add a bit more egg. Baking is special because it's not essential, it's an extra. It's like the extra things in life are the best thing in life, and baking cakes is one of these wonderful extras. Whenever I bake, I feel like I'm not doing something out of necessity, I'm doing it out of joy. The last bit of egg goes in there. Okay, so I've got my sifted flour here, and I've got ground almonds. I've got all the dry ingredients going in together, some baking powder, and a bit of salt. Salt is essential for every cake. It brings out all the flavors. Give that a nice mix. Break down those bit of almond meal. You don't need to be so particular about it. When in the bowl, it will mix properly. When I add almond flour to a cake, it makes it moister and a little bit denser. It's a good dense. It's dense and moist at the same time. As you can see, my mix has split a bit. When I start adding dry ingredients, it will come back together and be cohesive again. You see, just one bit of dry ingredients sorts it out. Once you start adding the dry ingredients, you don't want to mix it too much because you lose air. So I'm gonna do that in about 3 additions. That's it. So as soon as it comes together, stop. And you can carry on mixing it by hand because I'm going to fold in the blueberries. So this is all got a nice loose texture. I'm going to take about 2/3 of my blueberries and add them now. The reason why I'm doing it in 2 additions is because the blueberries tend to sink to the bottom. And then after a while in the oven, I'm going to add more on top. I'm just going to dollop it into the baking tray and then I'm going to spread it out. I love the color. It's so beautiful and yellow. It's like the color of sunshine. And then I'm just lightly mixing it in. I'm spreading it evenly. It will spread naturally as well as it bakes. Clean these bits as well. This is ready to go into the oven. It's been preheated to 375. Easy, easy. So I'm just gonna add the blueberries on top now. So the cake is hardly cooked. Some of them will sink a bit and some of them will stay on the surface. You want to be quite quick so the cake doesn't sink. This is why I'm also doing it in the oven. So quick, quick, quick. The remaining blueberries, and then I shut it, and then I hope for the best. So I'm just going to make the icing. So I'm going to use lemon juice and some powdered sugar. I always like to eyeball it. Sometimes I like the icing to be thick, and sometimes I like it to be a little bit thinner. It's completely up to you, whatever you like. You can always add a little bit extra sugar or extra lemon juice. So I'm going to start with half a lemon, see what texture I get. I'm using lemon juice, but you can also use limoncello or even grappa. I want mine to be a little bit thicker, so I don't know, a couple of millimeters thick. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that, more of that powdered sugar. This is a nice texture. It's nice consistency, it's nice and thin. This is the bit where you don't need to follow the recipe. Total freedom to go your thickness of icing. You personalize your cake. Nice. You just need to wait for the cake to cool down and then I'm going to spoon that on top. So it had another 15 minutes and now I'm just going to quickly put some foil on top just so it cooks evenly and doesn't color too much. So they should be ready now. It's about half an hour. Let's have a look at the color. Ooh, look at that. That looks beautiful. Just gonna check. Cooked to perfection. What a cute little baby. You want to leave it here for a good 10-15 minutes just to settle a bit before you take it out of the tin. It's just cool enough to handle. I love how it takes on all this wonderful color and there's a kind of layer of blueberries on top. It looks perfect. It looks really, really nice. So the cake is completely cool now. It's good to ice it when it's cool. Then the icing will set better. If you ice it when it's warm, it will drip a bit more. It's not the end of the world. Still fine, but you get a thinner glaze. And I'm just gonna apply the icing by brushing it lightly. The icing mixes with the blueberry and it gets this pink purpley color. It's part of the look. But I also like to see the cake through the icing. So I've made it a little bit thinner so you can actually see the color of the cake. And the most important thing is to allow it to drizzle. This is like the food stylist in me. I just want to see it drizzle like that. Perfect. I'm using a brush, but you can easily use a spoon. So that's done. I mean, you can eat it right away, which will give you a nice, runny icing, which is nice for the feel. But if you leave it for 20 minutes, it will set properly and then it will cut a bit more evenly. But either way, if you're eager to eat it now and make a mess, it's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that. Oh, that looks very nice. I was debating if I should eat it with a fork or shall I eat it with my hands, but I think I'm gonna eat it with my hands. It really does deliver on lemony. It's really lemony, and lemon and almond, like I said at the beginning, they just work together so nicely. This is good. This is really good. I love those blueberries. They're so juicy. Nice. This is so good. I haven't been home for a month. This is what I eat with my kids when we're at home. I take a bite, takes me back to home that I haven't seen for a while. It's the sweetness, it's the acidity, and it's the fruitiness that I love so much with a bit of almond, so it's nutty as well. And it's such a nice thing to have this little extra thing to celebrate life on your counter, a loaf. A beautiful thing that tastes so good and just does the ingredients so much justice. It's just so lemony and blueberry and almondy. It's just yum. You can find this recipe and many more in New York Times Cooking.